Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Alexis. I am a disabled powerlifter from Pennsylvania and an exclusive athlete with Buffbunny Collection. Today I will be going over and giving you a detailed inspection and honest review of the Summer Essentials collection by Buffbunny Collection. This will be launching on April 25th at 1 p.m. CST. And to support me, you can use my code Lexi, L-E-X-I, at checkout on any of your Buffbunny Collection purchases to save 10% and support me as an exclusive athlete. This is a big launch. There's a lot of new pieces, a lot of returning and improved pieces, and some really beautiful colors. So this beautiful orange sorbet color comes at a fantastic time because April is Limb Difference Awareness Month, and Lucky Fin Project is a really cool not-for-profit organization that shows a lot of advocacy and gives resources to people who are limb different. So if you can, head over to Instagram or Facebook page and follow the Lucky Fin Project. It is seriously one of the most life-changing connections I've made on the internet, and it is honestly so encouraging to come across so many different people with limb differences. Limitations are a lot of times ones that you set on yourself mentally, and I was able to meet up with their community members last year at this huge meetup in Michigan, and some of the people who really stood out to me was a man who had 2 club arms. So he was born with both arms being very shortened and limb different, and he was a civil engineer for Boston, Massachusetts area. And he travels the world and no limitations at all. I got to meet little kids who didn't even realize they had a limb difference because they were just having so much fun meeting other kids who were like them. So if you can, give Lucky Fin Project a follow. So there's been a lot of controversy over the different colors that are in this collection. The only thing that I can really explain is that maybe the names are a little different because of the fabric washes, because of the fit and feel. That would be my only explanation for that. We have a pretty wide variety of different bottoms, especially in the Poshknit fabric. Finally, covers for the arms. So a ballet wrap right off the bat that does feel like a slightly thinner version of halo fabric. I do think that the stitch quality, however, is not the best. They're not the most polished when they were constructed, and you will see that in my video, but I do want to always be 100% honest and transparent because we work hard for our money. I do work a 9-to-5 job, and social media content creating is my side gig, and I also know buying online is really difficult. So you are banking on reviewers to give you all the info that you need before you buy. And I just want you to make the best decisions when you are buying based off of my honest inspection here. And I do want to explain, if y'all know me, you know that I'm really detailed. I am very OCD when it comes to fabric textures and in my analysis because I have a severely autistic brother who is very sensitive to textures. So I have to constantly be mindful of what fabrics feel like and how things feel and fit when I'm going to gift him something, right? So Poshknit fabric, I'm going to tell y'all right off the bat, there are a lot of fabric inconsistencies in this collection, and it is a little hard for me to gauge how to actually size depending on the color because the washes were a little bit different. All of these Poshknit bottoms fit true to size, however, depending on the color, your compression level is going to change, and not in the normal way that you think, because you think, okay, a darker color is probably going to be more dense and compressive compared to a lighter color. That is not the case in this collection. So I'm going to give y'all a little cheat sheet on the side that indicates for Poshknit fabric bottoms how you're going to size, color, and the compression feeling that you want. So we start off with green being the most compressive in my personal opinion under my inspection and analysis. That's going to be a medium to high compression and support. Then you're going to have onyx black, which is just a tad bit stretchier and softer feeling. So about a medium compression and support. Then you're going to have lotus. Lotus is going to be your medium compression and support, good stretch and feel of the Poshknit fabric, and then you're going to have blue, but I'm assuming the platinum, which is like a white base with the gray dye added on top of it, would probably be the lightest. It's a little strange to me that the barista blue is going to be the thinnest and stretchiest compared to lotus or compared to like onyx black, so I just had to express that to y'all that right off the bat, here's the cheat sheet for that, okay? However, when it does come to the straight leg Poshknit leggings, that's also all over the place. I think it was the rose water color was actually thicker and a little bit more compressive. It almost felt more like Nubray fabric compared to the barista blue. The barista blue and the straight legs feels almost the same as the like Siren shorts and leggings. However, it's just a tiny bit thicker and more dense. I don't know why it's all over the place, but I do want to report that to y'all and be completely transparent. There are also some fit and measurement discrepancies For all of the Poshknit shorts in this collection, I personally do not think that the scrunch elastic band in the glute rise has anything to do with that, because if you lay the pant leg down flat and if you measure from the crotch gusset all the way to the bottom of, you know, the inseam, it should measure 7 inches. That's not the same across the board. My only reasoning for why that might happen is because, number one, either they got a new manufacturer and they don't know what they're doing. Number two would be that in manufacturing, there is an allotment of a ½ inch discrepancy for two the same size, and that is the industrial accepted difference. I don't really know what's going on, so I do want to report that to y'all right off the bat and just be completely transparent, because I think it's really important for y'all to know that the sizing is a little confusing for us athletes to report, because if you have a size medium in 5 different colors and they all fit different compression levels, you know what I mean? All of these Poshknit bottoms fit true to size. However, depending on the color, your compression level is going to change. As always, my measurements are listed in the description box below, and there are timestamps. That way you can skip around to your most desired item. If you could please leave a like, comment, or share and show some love on this video, whether it be a question, a nice comment, or just letting me know what item you're most excited about. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have the Barre sports bra. This is going to be an itty bitty titty committee, very small bust friendly, minimalistic, minimal coverage, barely there sports bra. It is made of Poshknit fabric, so it is a 4-way stretch, going to be a very light support and compression sports bra. I will tell you that there are a lot of inconsistencies with the Poshknit fabric in this launch, but I'll explain that in a little bit. So first off, it does have a under bust curvature scoop neckline, straps that are adjustable in the back and crossover, and then the back almost like bottom band area has this twist design. It is almost exactly what we see in the Poshknit bodysuit, a silicone Buffbunny emblem. There is a wide flat elastic band that is encased in the Poshknit fabric for the straps, and it stretches really nicely. The stitch quality is very soft and comfortable. That same elastic band, I think and I believe, is also sewn into the front bottom of the bra shelf, just to kind of hold you into place a little bit better. And then I want to say there's an elastic band that is in the back panel on the edges to kind of reinforce that stitching and keep it in place and not scrunch up and twist around too much. The straps have dyed to match metal hardware, but they are sewn into that back bottom band. No uncomfortable stitching or anything. On the inside, there are bra shelf separator stitching, so that way the bra pads don't move around too much. Slits on the side so you can remove those bra pads. And for comparisons, I do have the Poshknit Curve sports bra that came out in the Beta collection. It has a lot more coverage, and I can't really compare these two, but I just wanted to show you all the difference. I have the Poshknit bodysuit, and I just wanted to compare that back strap for the sports bra and the bodysuit with y'all. The back band twist strap is not as wide, probably about half as wide as the bodysuit, and then the very middle of it is actually a little bit wider compared to the bodysuit. For general measurements, the bottom width is coming in about 14 inches, front rise height 4 inches, the across the bust about 14 inches, widest part of the back band about 3.5 inches, then the middle of the twist tie doesn't really matter, but about 1.5 inches. Itty bitty titty committee, minimal support, Barre sports bra. Right off the bat, this looks so good. I think if you do have a very small bust. However, I have probably a B or a C cup, and I definitely feel like when I was raising my arm, I was a little anxious about a little underboob slippage. Again, I feel like when I lift up my arm, you can kind of see a tiny bit of boobage coming out. Not for the large breast girls, okay? So there's a very thin elastic band throughout the bottom, but this really isn't tight enough to give you any support or hold you in, because that back twist band can really stretch out pretty far. So I have very minimal gaping. This is definitely minimal support. The straps are actually not as comfortable as I was hoping, because I have gravity and natural boobies. The straps are actually digging into my traps a little bit. Yeah, it's not staying in place. But on the side, the lat coverage is minimal, but it doesn't dig in and look super unflattering. I think where the strap for the back crossover and then the actual back strap hits is really good. It's just like the bodysuit, but just a little bit less wide. Band is comfortable. I don't think it digs into me. I don't notice it. Poshknit fabric does pill and snag a bit, so It does not wick away sweat very well because it is a warm to the touch, kind of warmer feeling fabric, but sweat is not going to show in like Onyx Black, but it will show a little bit in like the Barista Blue. I do think that this is definitely wide frame friendly because it fits, you know, the width of my body type pretty well because of that back band being pretty stretchy. Say stay true to size, potentially size down because that back band is so stretchy. Overall, I would have to rank this a maybe 8.5 out of 10. The three things I'm not in preference for is number one, I wish that there was like a thicker elastic band that just went throughout the front to really like just situate itself and hold you in. Number two, I wish that the back strap was just a little bit taller, but not as wide. It stretches out and then you lose tension and support in the front, right? And then the third thing I'm not in preference for is I wish that the straps were just a little bit wider, like just like the bodysuit. I think that would have lended a little bit more support. Having a wide upper body frame and like a really flat chest, I really like the way that this looks head on. Accentuates me in the best way. I think I'm going to wear this when I go on walks around my house, maybe on errands, but because it doesn't have that underbust support, I most likely will not be exercising in this. I do powerlifting, right? I just don't think that this bra is for heavy workouts. It's more catered towards like Pilates, light movements, but it's definitely not catered towards the girlies who have larger busts because I definitely think you're going to have an under boob spillage. So keep all of that in mind, but I am happy with this. I do like it. Light movement intended bra. Next up, we have the return of the Brami tank. This does have a built-in bra shelf liner with removable bust pads. It is made of Nimbus fabric, a ribbed fabric that is slinky, soft to the touch, a lighter weight, very stretchy, very breathable. A wider kind of racer back front and back design, a rounded bottom hemline, mid-hip length, and it has a more tapered at the waist look instead of a fit and flare. Simple, wide racer back design with a dyed to match embroidered Buffbunny Collection emblem. Going over the details, that same Nimbus fabric is also used in the neck lining and the armhole opening linings. Going over the inside, so the bra shelf liner goes throughout the back. This is a really nice, lightweight, silky smooth, breathable kind of fabric, and I think that's going to bring a cooling touch to your back as you wear this, but it also helps give you a little bit support from the front part. Bra shelf liner has really distinct stitch to keep those bust pads into place. It's elastic, wider band, gently brushed, so it's not super smooth, but this wide elastic band goes all throughout the entire bottom of that tank top. Just looking at this, I do wish that that elastic band was added a little bit higher so that the bra shelf line would not be as tall. If that elastic band is like right underneath the cup pads, I think that would like right off the bat just give it a little bit of support. Bottom hemline stretches really nicely with the stitching quality matches with the fabric, and then just to stretch that fabric out, you can see when it is stretched, it is pretty sheer, but other than that, pretty simple tank top in design. For comparisons, I do have the Story Collection Nimbus t-shirt, and I will say that the quality and fabric feels exactly the same from what we saw previously. For general measurements, the bottom width is coming in at about 14 inches. The very smallest part of the waist is measuring about 14 inches. The biggest part across the chest is about 16 inches. Middle part across the chest is about 9 inches. Total front rise height, 16.5 inches. Smallest part of the strap width, about 2 inches. Total side rise height, about 10 inches. And then total back rise height, a little under 19 inches. With the jump test, this is minimal support and compression for the girls because where the elastic hits is below where cups are, and I need the support under my bust, not down here. The Nimbus fabric is so stinking stretchy in all directions. This was not structured super well. It has an excellent amount of side under armpit lat coverage. The back, that bra shelf goes all the way to the back. I don't notice it. It's wide frame friendly because of how stretchy it is. It has not pilled, so I do think this fabric is pretty durable. It's not like super thin. It's stretchy, but it's a pretty durable fabric. The Nimbus fabric wicks away sweat pretty well, but it is going to show sweat in lighter colors. In terms of sizing, I do think that the Brami tank top is true to size around, and it doesn't dig in. It doesn't feel uncomfortably tight. And I actually think you could size down, and this looks so awkward, I think you could size down in order to get just a tiny bit of support in your chest area. But if you do size down, and if you have a wider frame like me, I think you're going to risk that elastic band in the back showing a lot more. I am going to exchange the other colors that I got for smaller sizes, and if y'all follow me on my Instagram page, you can see my stories. I'll give you like a little sizing update. But yeah, I would say true to size, or you could size down for a little bit more support if you are more of a narrow frame girl. If you're a wider frame girl like me, I still think you could size down to give yourself just a tiny bit of support and compression. So overall, I'm going to have to rank the Brami tank top a 9 out of 10. I think the two things I'm not in preference for, the length of the bra shelf line is too long. The elastic band for the bra shelf is too low, and I think the support needs to be right underneath my cups, not down here, right? And then I think with the fabric being so stretchy in all directions, it's hard to give you any kind of little bit of support, but I just don't think it looks appropriate. Like if you have natural saggy gravity boobs, it's not giving you any support. The second thing I'm not crazy about is that, as I just think it runs a little big. This was intended for like recovery or light activity. I'm really liking it. I would probably wear this with bra stickies just for my comfortability, or a bra where I could adjust the straps and take out the pads. But yeah, I'm really actually happy with this one. I really like it.
Next up, we have the Pace tank top. This is made of a polyester fabric, and it is not stretchy in any direction. Lightweight, slick feeling, high performance fabric, so perfect for running. It does feature some contour lines, a scoop neckline, high under armpit coverage, about hip length, and a racer back design. In the back, you have some contour lines that kind of cross over, and you have reflective dots and a reflective Buffbunny Collection emblem. The racer back has this mesh material, stretchy, so it's a little the exposed mesh that we have seen before. The design is pretty simple all throughout. Looking at the neck and arm lining, it is the fabric simply sewn onto itself and stitched nicely, but it doesn't stretch. Again, the fabric doesn't stretch at all. Here's what the bottom hemline looks like. I don't really have anything to compare this to. And for general measurements across the top, it's coming in about 20.5 inches. Across the bottom, about 22 inches. Total front rise height, about 13.5 inches. Side length, about 11.5 inches. Width of the straps about a little over 1 inch, and then the total back rise height about 19.5 inches. The width of the racer back about 3.5 inches, and then that mesh paneling is about 9 inches long.
I'm like, okay, belly shirt. It is a very simple, very minimalistic running tank top, high performance, sweat wicking. I'm not going to show sweat in the darker color. Very breathable, lightweight, non-stretch though. I do wish it was a little stretchy. Kind of an awkward length, I'll be honest, but I think that this is a good length if you have one of those running jackets or running vests. I think you wouldn't get like the chafing from your vest. Minimal coverage for your lats on the side. Reminds me a lot of the tank tops that I used to run in, except I always liked full length ones so my belly isn't like jiggling around. If you know, you know. Love that little racer back mesh design. I wouldn't have minded if it was the whole thing, just saying. This fabric does not feel like it will snag. Wide frame friendly, true to size. I would not recommend sizing down because then you lose the flowiness of it, and getting this on and off because it does not have stretch. Yeah, definitely stay true to size. Overall, I will have to rank this tank top a 9.5 out of 10, honestly. There's nothing about it that I dislike except for the length. I wish it was like a full length tank top. Like, I'm not the most confident with my arms in this tank top, but I do think it's a great running activity, simple, go-to, essential tank top. Next up, we have the beautiful Ballet wrap, and this is made of modal and spandex. I'm going to tell y'all right off the bat, the PDF doesn't explain that it is halo fabric, but it feels very similar. Lightweight, thin, super stretchy material in all directions. Waist length, a beautiful crossover, traditional ballet wrap kind of style. There are slits at the bottom of each side where each end of the wrap does feature a strap where you can thread it through the hole. Proceed to tie the straps around your body for some adjustability as well. So you to thread through like the straps, then just not stitch together in the center for that hole. Entire bottom of this wrap is the fabric folded in half, invertedly sewn and onto itself. That is the same stitch quality that we see throughout the neckline, front of the wrap. So the strap is the piece of fabric folded in half and invertedly sewn, and then it's stitched right into like the base of the wrap. The end of the strap is cut off at an angle. When these like lay down, they're gonna look almost like laying ribbon. It's a very elegant and a good nod to ballet. I think embroidered Buffbunny Collection emblem in the back. It is nice and simple. The thumb holes, they are very simple and simply stitched. So I would just be mindful, this is a little bit more of like a delicate fabric because there is no cuff
and then the thumb hole is put into it. This is, you know, more of a lifestyle piece. It's not really meant to be worn in a durable manner. But yeah, I just want to show y'all kind of the stitch quality, how simple it is. I don't predict it'll rip open because they do have a stitch running across to prevent that. However, I'm not sure if these seams running up the side are going to come undone. So super general measurements. The bottom is about 14.5 inches. Total side rise height is coming in at about 10 inches. It's kind of hard to tell where the front rise height is going to be, where this like opening is, because if you have a much larger chest, this is going to be a lot less, but just as is laying flat, the front rise height is about 8 inches. Biggest part of the sleeve opening is going to come in at about 6 inches. Total back rise height is coming in about 17.5 inches.
Okay, I have such high hopes for this ballerina top, and I am just a little bit disappointed. I do not have a big bust by any means. I have a pretty flat chest profile. However, I do have a wide back and a bigger upper body frame. So I think, you know, where this is lined up with my shoulders, how it is placed is accurate, and I don't have a lot of coverage in the front. I wish it was a little bit tiny bit more covered. I think that this runs a little bit small right off the bat, and I do have arm tension and, you know, tightness in my arm. Sorry, I'm actually a little sweaty. My apartment's hot as hell. So anyway, very lightweight and slinky. I think this is feeling thinner than Halo fabric, so like its original form. It does pill a little bit and it does snag and catch, so just be careful with that. This can be wide frame friendly if you size up. On me right now, true to size, it's not exactly wide frame friendly just because of where this hits at the natural, you know, crossover. If I pull it up, I guess you could have a tiny bit more coverage, but it's still not exactly where I want it. From the back, you can see kind of the sheerness of it. I'm going to show you how to tie this and or style it a few different ways. So just because it does have the hole doesn't mean you need to use them on both sides. To have it lay nice and flat, then sweep this one around and then adjust it however you see fit. If you do the double-sided one, it's hard to have it lay completely flat. You could wear it this way, which, sorry, again, I'm sweaty. It's hot as hell in my apartment. But in the back, you could show off that sports bra and that back. That the stitch quality is very minimal. And I will be completely honest, it's also not the best stitch quality. I definitely feel like if you have too much tension and pull on this, you're going to definitely pop some seams. Overall, I'm going to have to rank the Ballet wrap. I do think this runs just a little bit small on me because I carry a lot of extra weight and loose skin in my arms, and I have a wider frame. So it's not like covering as much of the chest area as I would prefer. If true to size, potentially size up. The number two thing I'm not in preference for is that the stitch quality throughout concerns me a bit. I think it's very minimalistic, but it's not like, oh shit, god damn it. All right, so, and I just realized that stitch popped. So it's not exactly, because it's like a delicate fabric, it's not exactly, yeah. Well, that's embarrassing. I don't know if I want to promote this now. Do what you will with that information. Next up, we have the return of the Spice Mesh jacket. This is made of Spice Mesh material, which is a pretty stretchy material, silky smooth, very slinky, breathable, because it's perforated all throughout. It's like basketball short material, but stretchy. It does feature almost hidden pockets with dye-to-match metal hardware for zippers, and a watch vent in the cuff, as well as a thumb hole. Is considered a hip length. Going over the top portion, there is a little bit of contour stitching, and that stitching runs along with the pocket. Almost a hidden zipper, dyed to match, locking one, so no matter how much I'm tugging at it, it's not going to come undone. But they left zipper head because this was what the original had, and it does have little flaps so you can hide the very top of the zipper. Basketball short material but stretchy. It's that fabric folded in half and onto itself, and then it creates the color, and that is sewn really nicely into the base of it. It's actually really nice and soft stitch quality. It's not going to itch. That stitch contouring in the back, which also helps just, you know, make you look a little snatched. Like a whole stitch seam to attach the sleeve to the jacket, so just kind of keep that in mind. You're gonna maybe feel the stitching, but I think because it's so stretchy, it won't really be an issue. Sleeves, they do feature a watch vent. The little opening for the watch vent is so nice. There's a little piece of some type of fabric over there, so that is very well polished. Thumb holes on both sleeves. The fabric is simply folded in half and onto itself. For the bottom half, hidden pockets with dyed to match zipper metal hardware. On the inside, really the same mesh material, big enough to hold my iPhone 16. On the inside, there's really not a whole lot to go over, just that you can see some of the stitch quality. That is done. And for general measurements, the bottom width is coming in at about 15 inches. The smallest part of the waist is coming in about 13.5 inches. Right underneath the armpits is coming in at about 16 inches. Shoulder width is coming in at about 15 inches. Total front rise height is coming in at about 20 inches. Biggest part of the sleeves is coming in at about 6 inches. The total back rise height is going to be coming in at about 22.5 inches. From the top of the sleeve all the way down is coming in about 28 inches long. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm not crazy about the length. I think hip length is a great idea for really petite people or short torso girls, and if you're standing still. But if you have a softer belly like me and gravity and whatnot, and if you're moving around in this, it's going to keep riding up. So the length is off. Wide frame friendly, large and small bust friendly. Look how stretchy that is. Large arm friendly. I'm getting just a little bit of tension when I relax my arms from that stitch seam. Watch vent is good. Thumb hole quality, the stitching, the cuff sleeves, everything seems like pretty dang good quality, very well polished. Little stitch seams that add to my contouring, and the neckline is comfortable, nothing itchy, irritating. The susceptibility to snag. I don't know if it will pill over time. This is actually my first time ever trying this jacket out. I'm sad I never got the original because I think it came in a full length. It is true to size or size up. So on me, as is, without actually zipping it up, this is actually where it falls. So I think it looks a little small on me, right? But I think as we wear it, you'll be fine. So you can either stay true to size or size up depending on your preference. And I think if you size up too, it'll be just maybe a tad bit more forgiving in the length. So overall, I will have to rank the returning Spice jacket a solid 9 out of 10. The only two things I'm not in preference for is number one, the length. Either I want it to be full length or I want it to be a little bit shorter. The second thing I'm not in preference for is I think the pockets are a little awkward. They do help you look a little bit more shaped, but it's also, boom, a big solid panel. Really hope that we see this come back in a full length or in a cropped version with some adjustments, but I'm really happy with it. I think it's really cute. I'm definitely going to be wearing this all the time this summer, I think, and with this bright color. Yes. Next up, we have the Threads Bolero. This is made of Threads fabric, so it is going to be the lightest weight cotton sweat-like fabric material from Buffbunny Collection. A cotton and polyester, no stretch, relaxed fit, drop shoulder design, intentional raw edge detailing is a cropped length, but long enough to cover your bra. Wide stretch jersey fabric that runs along the entire edge and the bottom of the cuff sleeve. Jersey, ribbed material. It's dense, it's stretchy, an embroidered Buffbunny Collection emblem. So basically you have a bunch of different panels that were added together. And here, so this is like one panel, and then the entire back is two different panels. The raw edge cutting is intentional, put together different pieces of the fabric. The top one runs all the way across the top from the drop shoulder to the other drop shoulder, and then the bottom one creates like the back base of this bolero. And then the sleeves are like a whole separate panel. The raw edge cut for the drop shoulder sleeve to be attached. Pretty simple design. Off camera, I did feel this compared to the other Threads material, and it does feel the same. So for general measurements, the bottom width, I'm going to measure from this stitch seam to this stitch seam. Threads fabric, so it is going to be the lightest weight cotton sweat-like fabric material from Buffbunny Collection. Then you're going to have cloud fabric, and then plush fleece is going to be the heaviest. It embodies like the whole back end at about 19 inches. The total back rise height is coming in about 16 inches. Shoulder length is coming in at about 11.5 inches. I guess the rib material is about 2.5 inches. And the biggest part, or the sleeve, about 9 inches. Length from the bottom all the way to where the neck begins is a good 30 inches almost. About 5 inches. I am so happy we got some arm covers. Like, the pretty flattering. It's pretty much just covering the arms, you know. Here it is from the side, here it is scooped in the back. It does pill because it's a sweat, you know, fabric. It's not going to wick away sweat fast. It's going to show sweat or water in, you know, lighter colors. I feel like where this jersey fabric is hitting is going right underneath my armpit. Definitely stay true to size. I think don't size down because you might have a little bit of tension comfortably. I think if you size down, it's gonna, you know, pull backwards a little bit more. And I think if you size up, that's totally fine too. So if you want a little bit more of like a baggy sleeve Ariana Grande moment, you can size up. Overall, I would definitely rank this a solid 9.5 out of 10. The only thing I'm not in preference for is just where this is cutting. I wish it just had a little bit more coverage so it could lay a little bit more comfortably on my armpits. But yeah, I like the way that it scoops down. I like the length of it in the back because it's enough to cover, you know, the mid back fat and it almost be a meet and greet with, you know, my bottom's length. So I'm really happy with it. I would highly recommend the Threads Bolero. Threads cropped hoodie. So this is going to be exactly the same as the Threads regular zip up hoodie, which is like about butt length, but this one is a cropped version. I would say more hip length with the way that the drop shoulder is and where it lands. The hoodie I measured off camera is exactly the same style, size, altogether compared to the regular thread zip hoodie. The dye to match metal hardware zipper, bunny emblem on there. This is of course the locking kind of zipper, so it's not going to come undone. Pockets, double mesh inner liner pocket, so you can like securely put your phone in there. It's like big enough to fit my iPhone 16. The jersey ribbed material on the cuffs and on the bottom of this, and in the back it's nice and simple. Just kind of taper in a little bit for this drop shoulder cropped look. Hood does not feature drawstrings. Measurements, the bottom width is going to be coming in at about 18 inches. Again, across the chest is about 34 inches until you get to the drop shoulder. The side is about 9 inches. Total front rise height up until that zipper is about 19 inches. Collar all the way down to that drop shoulder is about 15 inches. Total length of the sleeve is about 17.5 inches. The sleeve or biggest part of the sleeve opening, 11.5 inches. Total back rise height is coming in at about 21 inches. Like a cute, slouchy, like streetwear vibe. I like it. Fitting hip length, but cropped when you know, lift up your arms and you're moving around. The Threads fabric does pill and it is not stretchy at all. It's not going to wick away sweat because it's a sweat kind of material fabric. It's going to show sweat in the lighter colors. I actually think I might exchange this for a size down just because I want it to be a little bit more cropped. The bottom band is very stretchy, so I definitely think you could size down. I will have to rank the Threads cropped hoodie a solid 9 out of 10. The first thing I'm not really in preference for is that I wish the hood had draw cords. I personally have always said I like draw cords. Anyway, the second thing I'm not really crazy about is this had draw cords on the bottom and you could kind of like adjust it, you know, baggy up here, a little bit more form-fitting at the waist. I think that would be super cute, but I'm just being nitpicky. Overall, I think it's a super great like sweater layering piece and I'll definitely be wearing this. I think it's going to be one of the go-to essential pieces in my closet. So I actually would highly recommend this. I really like it. Next up, we have the return of the Poshknit straight leg pants. These do feel a little bit more dense than the Poshknit fabric that we saw when these straight leg pants first came out back in November. We'll go over the details in a little bit. Because I did review these before, I'm just gonna say what this features in general. The waistband is pretty tapered. I did size up to an extra large because some of the Buffbunny Collection girls were saying that when they sized up that these fit a lot better. The general consensus is that these were fitting a little bit straight or fitted until about the upper thigh and then they were kind of tapering out. So a lot of girls were saying that these were riding up. I am sizing up to kind of see how this works out for me, but because I did review these before, I am going to just show y'all the comparisons really quick. The crotch gusset, the front rise height, and then the waistband. So the total front rise height is actually the same. Back rise height lining up the crotch gussets is actually going to be exactly the same, but it's actually pretty consistent all the way down. So I don't think that there was a fit update to like let out the thigh at all. In the original, these are a size large, is just a little bit off. Yeah, they're about the same as well. And for general measurements, the bottom pant leg opening is coming in at about 12 inches. The about knee area is coming in about top of the thigh openings coming in at about 11.5 inches. Biggest part of the hips are coming in about 18.5 inches. The waistband rise height is about 4.5 inches. The rise height up until the waistband from the crotch gusset is about 6 inches. So the total front rise height is about 10.5 inches. Top of the waistband, the total back rise height is about 10.5 inches, but just the back band is 4.5 inches, and then that glute rise height is about 6 inches. Did size up to an extra large in the Poshknit straight leg pants. These are a short length around my upper thighs, draped down. I think sizing up was the best bet so that I could avoid tightness in the thigh area. But because I sized up, I also compromised losing some tummy compression and control. I am getting a little bit of camel toe, pretty thick cellulite on this thigh, and it is showing pretty apparent, but I think in the darker colors it's not going to show up as much. Poshknit fabric is a warming kind of fabric. I wouldn't say that it's very sweat wicking, and it will show sweat in the lighter colors, but it does pale a little bit over time. I'm not getting any rolling, so I think we're okay there. This does dip down in the back. There is sliding with these bottoms, so when you are moving around, you're walking and everything, these are going to ride up into the crotch. So a lot of the athletes were saying that they did size up and they avoided, that crotch gathering a little bit better. Stay true to size. If you have like leaner legs, or you don't mind this looking a little bit like form-fitting, and then draping down, but if you do want it to look a little bit more like draping straight down, I would recommend sizing up like I did. But just remember, when you do, you lose, tummy control and compression. So overall, I would have to rank these like an 8.5 out of 10. Number one, because of the sizing. I think it's not exactly for the longer torso girlies who are curvier with, the riding up, the way that it fits around the thighs. I wish it was a little bit more flared out, like on the upper thighs. Number two, fabric inconsistency. Poshknit fabric with this collection, it just depends on the color. And so it's hard for me to tell y'all what size to get, because it really depends on what color, what is your preference for compression, and all that. So I think fabric inconsistency is another thing I'll have to take another half point off. And then the third thing I'm not crazy about is the dipping down in the back, but I guess you could rope that in with sizing, because, if I bend over or whatnot, yeah, I'm just gonna constantly be pulling these up. But overall, I would recommend to try these out. I personally really like these. I'm just trying to be completely honest with y'all that when you are buying it, you're really gonna have to know what size, what color, what compression level you want. So for this one, it is feeling a little bit more dense compared to the original version of the straight leg pants that we saw in November. I would recommend to try these out. I think they are really cute. Sizing up is the way to go, especially if you are a curvy girl and you have thicker thighs, just so it looks more fitting to your body. So try these ones out, because I definitely think they're going to sell out fast. Next up, we have the Siren, a crossover waist 7-inch short. We also have Siren full-length leggings we've seen in the past. However, the Siren Scrunch shorts and leggings are made out of Poshknit fabric now, and there's a lot to unpack with the Poshknit from this collection. There's a lot of fabric inconsistencies with the colors, and it's just really hard to report what the fabric is like and what iteration. And we were told there was going to be a standard moving forward, but this is thicker than the standard, so I'm happy with it. I just wanted to point out there's a lot of fabric inconsistencies in this launch for the same fabric depending on what color it is. But okay, the 7-inch inseam length, crossover deep V waistband design, folded in half and onto itself, and the stitch quality in the waistband is delicate and similar more to the Rosa. Kind of a short overall rise height, more tapered in at the waist. Thick thigh friendly, stitch quality, legacy leggings, robust wider stitch pattern. Back, do have an elastic in the glute rise, deep V above the glute stitch waistband, silicone Buffbunny emblem, sort of an eyelet crotch gusset seams that will run along the side. The Poshknit bottoms never launched from the Essentials 1 collection because the elastic in the glute rise was not stitched properly and the stitch seams were popping. So I am going to tell y'all, I did actually work out in these. A heavy squat day. These actually held up really well, so I was really impressed. So the elastic in the glute rise, see, after me wearing this for a heavy squat day and pushing almost 700 pounds on leg press, yeah, that baby's still intact. So I think this is the scrunch bottoms that we were supposed to get. So it looks like the stitch zigzag pattern, tighter, closer together stitch zigzag pattern, but it's also a higher tension for how it was sewn in there. So I think that is definitely more durable. Zigzags are a little bit wider and farther apart compared to the newer one. And then this one has a lot more tension as it was sewn compared to this one. This one's a little bit looser. Have the butter fabric aggressive scrunch legging. I believe this is from the Unbreakable collection. Stitch seam, cross gusset to the top. These are actually the same rise height in the front. However, butter fabric is a lot more stretchy. Waistband is about the same rise height, is actually the same glute rise height, and back is actually the same rise height as well. Latest Legacy 6-inch short. From the crotch gussets, the total front rise height, good 2 inches in rise height difference. So the waistbands are the same rise height, but it's just the actual rise height that is different. But for the total back rise height, it is going to be significantly different because this glute rise is, you know, scrunched, has elastic. Like waistband, they're actually the same rise height. The Siren scrunch shorts and the regular Poshknit scrunch shorts are exactly the same, except for the waistband is going to be different. Matching up the crotch gusset, the front rise height of these is going to be almost the same, but then the waistband for the front is going to be a little bit higher compared to the intersection where this crosses over on these. And for general measurements, the biggest part across the middle, like of my butt, would be 16.5 inches. The waistband is about 10.5 inches. Total length from the side is about 16 inches. The front rise height until the bottom of the waistband is about 5.5 inches. But then from where it crosses over here to the crotch gusset, about 9 inches for the total front rise height. But once you wear this, you know, it's going to stretch out a little bit, so it may be a little bit shorter in the front, like show off your belly button. That scrunch rise height relaxed is about 4.5 inches. And then the bottom of the waistband to the top and the back is coming in at about a little over 5 inches, but then the total back rise height is coming in at about 10 inches. Let's talk. So as is, I'm not getting any Barbie crotch. I'm not like minimal camel toe. However, these are fitting mid-rise, okay? And I have to complain for a little bit because I feel like the brand has really been pushing towards short glute rise, mid-rise stuff. When you're a softer girl, I don't want my belly out. So I'm going to be completely honest right off the bat. I'm not a huge fan of these. They look flattering only if you're able to pull them up. So if you're a curvier girl, for it to still look flattering in the crotch area, where it's at, this ain't it for us, okay? Where it would be the most flattering placement for the waistband would be hitting at the smallest point of our waist, especially since the waistband is so tapered in, right? Smallest point of my waist, covering up my belly button just a tiny bit, that would be ideal. Major Barbie crotch. So, you know, yeah, only adjusting a lot. On this side, I have a lot thicker cellulite. I think these are great on the cellulite scale, and because of that scrunch, it doesn't feel so aggressive, I guess. It is flattering even when I'm wearing regular bikini style underwear underneath. And like overall fit, the thighs are actually fitting pretty well. These are definitely thick thigh friendly. I'm getting major rolling. The sides will roll down to try to meet the intersection of where the crossover is. So that was kind of expected, but I think also because the waistband is so tapered in, and this is really mid-rise, not ultra high-rise, so it's not fitting at the smallest of my waist. That is also contributing to the rolling down. So keep that in mind. I'm not getting any like sliding down. In terms of being sweat wicking, Poshknit fabric is a little bit more like warm to the touch. It's not going to wick away sweat as fast as like Airbrush or butter fabric, which are lighter weight performance fabrics. It is going to show sweat even in this and Barista Blue, so Onyx Black is kind of the only color you're kind of okay with. It's about 90% sweat proof. In terms of sizing, I would definitely say stay true to size. I would not recommend sizing up because if you do, you lose a lot of tummy compression. And if you size down, these are going to be way too tight in the waistband, more sheer if you size down. Overall, I'm going to have to give these Siren shorts a 8 or 8.5 out of 10 because number one, the first thing I'm not in preference for is the like rise height in the front is just a little bit too short for my body type. Number two, the waistband is too tapered in. Number three, there's an excessive amount of rolling. Potentially number four, fabric inconsistencies because the green is a lot more dense than the barista blue and the barista blue is thinner than the purple. I personally would only recommend the Siren shorts to ladies who are shorter or very lean body types. I think these were a little disappointing for my taller torso, kind of chubbier girl vibe, and it just, they're not exactly it for me. But I want to be completely honest and transparent with y'all because I want you to know exactly what you're buying. And I do want to say, like, this can look a lot different than this. So be very mindful when you're like looking at items on a body type that's similar to yours. I think it's important to also give, you know, honesty and say, hey, this isn't it, you know. So I'm a little disappointed in these, but let's try on the regular Poshknit aggressive scrunch and see how that fares. For the regular Poshknit scrunch shorts, the rise height difference is now about an inch different, but the front waistband is about the same. It is significantly different, but the back waistbands are about the same height. The biggest difference is going to be for that scrunch. If I stretch it out in general, let's see here. It's still a good 2-inch difference in like glute rise height compared to the Legacy. A little bit more short glute rise friendly, which the brand has really been pushing towards that a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of that because I have a long bottom. The Siren scrunch shorts and the regular Poshknit scrunch shorts are exactly the same except for the waistband is going to be different. Matching up the crotch gusset, the front rise height of these is going to be almost the same, but then the waistband for the front is going to be a little bit higher compared to the intersection where this crosses over on these. These are coming in about 9.5 inches total front rise height. Side length is coming in about 16 inches. The total back rise height relaxed is coming in at about 9.5 inches. The waistband, about 5.5 inches. Scrunch rise height relaxed is coming in at about 4.5 inches. These Poshknit regular 7-inch scrunch shorts with a regular waistband that goes across are faring a lot better compared to the Sirens. However, I do think that these are fitting mid to high rise, but not ultra high rise. So again, in the crotch area, it looks okay this way, but it's a little bit lower than where I would like prefer it on my body. So if I were to pull it up to accommodate for my longer torso, I'm gonna get major camel toe. And then yeah, so I would say that these are more like mid to high rise. Good amount of compression and support. Not great, but I would say good. Of course, I have thicker cellulite on this thigh, and I do think that the Poshknit is about a medium level cellulite camouflage. And then the booty's looking pretty good. We have that elastic in the glute rise. I did test out the Siren shorts, and I did a heavy squat and leg press day, and that elastic in the glute rise, nothing popped. I inspected it. We are good. So I'm a lot more confident with these Poshknit bottoms this round compared to the Essentials 1 round. Because of where these are hitting on me, and I have a soft belly, there is rolling, and I don't know if you can see that there. The rolling happens because these aren't hitting at the smallest part of my waist, right? And the waistband is really tapered in. I think if it was higher up, I wouldn't have as much rolling. These are not sliding though, which I am happy about. They're not like sliding up into my crotch the way the straight legs did because they're more form-fitting. They are thick, thigh friendly. 9 out of 10 actually. The only two things that I'm really not crazy about is number one, the rise height. Number two, the camel toe. But I think if I had more rise height, the camel toe wouldn't be nearly as bad. To mitigate camel toe, you can wear a like feminine product pad, and that can usually help with that. I love these. I love the way they feel. These are the Poshknit shorts that we should have had back from the Essentials 1 launch. These are just a longer length. Overall, I will recommend these. They're very comfortable. The Siren legging is also coming in leggings that are in 3 different inseam lengths, and I do have the shorter one here. And for the Siren, the width at the waistband is about 10 inches legging. The biggest part of the hips is coming in about 16.5 inches.
Total front rise height where the crossover begins to the crotch gusset about 8.5 inches. Total back rise height is about 9.5 inches from just the back waistband, 5.5 inches almost, and then the scrunch glute rise height about 4.5 inches. Next up, we have the Airbrush pocket legging, and this is returning. Airbrush fabric doesn't feel the same. There's a lot of fabric inconsistency in this collection. This airbrush feels a little bit brushed, and I'm not sure if that's because of the dyeing process or whatever, but I'm telling y'all right off the bat, it does feel a little bit different. I couldn't find my original airbrush pocket leggings. A medium compression and support fabric is stretchy in all directions, but high rise, have double front waistband stitch seam detailing, where this is a soft V and then this one is a deep V. Contour lines that run down until about the knee area that help create the pockets. The pockets are bonded, so it's the fabric folded in half and onto itself with adhesive, so it's nice. It stretches with the fabric, but it's really going to hold your stuff, you know, in your pocket as you wear it. To fit my iPhone 16. The waistband is doubly lined, so it's the airbrush fabric folded in half and onto itself, brushed elastic draw cord. So there's technically no stitch seam at the top of the waistband. There's elastic that's inside of the waistband. Very center back is sewn in place. That way it doesn't move around too much. In the back, really deep V glute contour lines. Those are a continuation from the front. A simple stitch seam in the glute rise, no elastic. How the stitching is done, the pocket is opened up. It tapers and goes all the way down until about the knees. There is no cutoff for the pocket, so just kind of something to keep in mind. Very bottom of this, it's not bonded at the cuffs of the legging. Triangle cross gusset and the stitch quality. The community collection where we had the contrast stitching is actually going to be the same rise height as well. Total back rise height for the community collection airbrush pocket legging is just a tad higher in rise height compared to the purple, but I can't really get it to like lay flat. I think there was a little bit of a stitching error here, probably too much tension. Anyways, for the waistband and the back rise height is actually the same rise height. The stitch seams are not the same. The placement of the stitching is not exactly the same as community collection. And for general measurements, going across, I guess the biggest part of like the hips is going to measure in around 16 inches. Top of the waistband is coming in at about 12 inches. Front rise height is coming in at about 10 inches. Just the waistband is 4 inches. And then just the front rise height until the crotch gusset is about 6 inches. Yeah, see how that's bulging? It's too much tension when they sewed like the waistband panel onto here. I'm not really liking how that's poking out, but once we put it on, I'm sure it'll stretch out. Glute rise height, about 7 inches. Back rise height until that deep V just for the waistband, about 5.5 inches, but total back rise height is coming in at about 12.5 inches. And that pocket opening is coming in at about 5 inches. It's giving major camel toe. The compression is high compression and support. I am getting a little bit of muffin roll because of the elastic band that is in here and the kind of tapered in waist. However, it's not really enough to be uncomfortable for me, but just if you have a pudgy belly, it's something to keep in mind. The tummy control and compression, I would say, is pretty good, and I do have thicker cellulite on this side. It's pretty good at concealing cellulite. Flattering, it doesn't do anything like for the shaping, but I think because the fabric is like sleek and thinner and compressive, that's to be expected. Show you the pocket's pretty big. Not getting any rolling in the waistband because of that elastic draw cord in the waistband. I'm not the biggest fan of airbrush fabric. I do think that I like this iteration because this airbrush fabric actually feels like a little bit more brushed compared to what it has in the past. I don't know if that's just this color or what, because I only got this lotus color. Again, there's a lot of fabric inconsistencies this collection, but I'm honest with y'all. This is going to wick away sweat pretty well. Going to show sweat in the lighter color. It does not pill, it does not snag, it's pretty durable. These do slide down on me a little bit, like down my thighs, tension in the back of my knees and in my thighs. So in terms of sizing, I definitely think these are true to size. I would not size up because then you're losing a lot of the compression, and as you're running, you want this to stick to you, right? But I wouldn't size down, because if you size down, I think that you're at risk of these being even more opaque and probably too tight in the thighs if you have thicker thighs. So true size is kind of the rule of thumb. So overall, I would have to rank the airbrush pocket leggings a solid 8.5 out of 10. The first thing that I'm going to knock a half point off for is the waistband being so tapered in. I think because you have the draw cord, you don't need to taper it in so much. Number two, the camel toe situation. I think it's that triangle crotch gusset. If they had a double crotch gusset or an eyelet shaped one, it would just maybe be a little bit better. And the third thing I'm not crazy about is the fabric inconsistencies. A little bit brushed, like softer than what we're used to.
I'm okay with that, but I just wish that that was like listed. That way I could properly address y'all. Actually, I do like this iteration, but why it's losing a half point is because I think the communication just needs to be a lot more clear, and it needs to be standardized across all of the athletes with what y'all are getting. I would highly recommend these if you're looking for a high compression and support legging that is ultra high rise, because you know they're your high performance, very cute color, functional legging. Definitely liking these. Next up, we have the Threads 4-inch shorts. These are made from Threads fabrics. So this is going to be a cotton-like sweat fabric material. Threads fabric does not stretch. The lightest weight sweat material from Buffbunny Collection. And it's going to be cloud fabric, which is a little bit more dense and stretchy. And then you have plush fleece, which is the heaviest sweat fabric material from Buffbunny Collection. A relaxed fit, raw hem edges, encased elastic in the waistband, dyed to match Buffbunny engraved metal tip draw cords, has the outer stitched large pockets with a Buffbunny Collection embroidered emblem there. The metal hardware has Buffbunny elastic in the waistband. The raw cut is finished off with this simple stitch seam that goes along the entire bottom of the pant leg. That way these don't roll up or these don't like split in the fabric. In the back, it's nice and simple, but the pockets are nicely sewn off. Threads fleece lined on the inside. Place our phones in there and have plenty of room in there. I think the last time we saw like sweat shorts from Buffbunny Collection was from the Story of Motherhood collection. Essentially, the waistbands are going to be a little bit different. Cloud is not as wide as the threads. Front rise height for this is going to be actually exactly the same. So the total back rise height for these crotch gussets lined up is going to be a little bit off. The cloud one is going to be higher in rise in the back compared to the threads. External big square pockets, more hidden square pockets that actually are not as deep. Raw cut hem, and this is the polished elastic, is a little bit more stretchy and dense. This one doesn't have the addition of the other stitch seam in it. Threads fabric does not stretch at all in any direction, and it is more of a lighter weight sweat material, whereas cloud is a lot more dense and heavier, and it also stretches in all four directions. What's nice about the cloud fabric is once you stretch it out in the knee area, if you're going to wear pants, it'll actually retract back into place because of the elasticity in it, whereas threads fabric, once you wear it, stretch it out, it's gonna stay stretched out. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And for general measurements going across the top, the waistband is about 15 inches. Biggest part of the hips is coming in at about 22 inches. Total front rise height is coming in at about 13 inches. Pant leg opening about 15.5 inches. Pocket rise height is coming in at about 10.5 inches. Width about 6.5 inches, 17.5 inches. Because they are a relaxed fit, the crotch area is looking fine. Not the most durable fabric, it does pill quite a bit. Pockets are a great size. I do think it is true to size. So the waistband is pretty stretchy still, and you know, again, it's a relaxed fit. Overall, I will have to rank these a solid like 9 out of 10. The only two things I'm not crazy about is number one, I do wish the length was just a little long, because like as I'm walking, these are definitely riding up a little bit, and I get a little bit of chafing. I'm longer, I have thick thighs. And then the second thing I'm not crazy about is that I actually wish that the back had something to it. It wasn't just like plain. I kind of wish that these had pockets on the back end, or at least like fake flaps or something. But that's just, you know, my personal opinion. So I would highly recommend these. I think these are going to be a great throw-on addition, go-to summer sweat short. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for being here. My top picks from this entire collection are going to have to be the Threads Bolero. I'm loving a little bit of arm coverage. Probably the Poshknit straight leg pants, because the first iteration of those that we saw back in November, they were a lot thinner and stretchier, and I just wasn't really happy with them. Now the Poshknit is a little bit more dense, especially in the rosewater color, so I'm a little bit more happy. I think they fit a little bit better overall, but that's also because I sized up. My least favorite items from this entire collection, probably the Siren scrunch leggings and shorts, because again, they were a little bit more mid to high rise, but on a longer torso, they just didn't look super great. When I pulled them up to accommodate for like my longer torso, I got major Barbie crotch and camel toe, so not exactly it for me. But one that was really disappointing to me was the Ballet wrap, because in a picture, it looks amazing. in person, the stitch quality on two of the different colors that I got, platinum and then the barista blue, I was wholly disappointed in the stitch quality of them. I think it was very minimalistic, and for the delicate feel and physical movement of the fabric, we needed better, you know, reinforced stitching. And yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I was disappointed. I was just reviewing it and saw that the stitching was coming undone around the thumb hole. Like, that's not it, you know. I hope you receive this information on all of the pieces under my inspection and try on haul and being honest review, and you find value in it. I hope it helps you make a better decision on what items you are looking to buy from the Buffbunny Collection Summer Essentials. I really hope that y'all have peace and gratification and just go into these summer months feeling really good about yourself, whether it be in these pieces or not. Probably shouldn't say that, but just want y'all to feel really good, because there's a lot going on in the world, and I think that we need to do things to make ourselves, you know, process and feel better. I sincerely want to thank y'all for being here. I appreciate you for stopping by and showing me some love. Please use my athlete code LEXI, L-E-X-I, on any of your purchases for Buffbunny Collection. That will save you 10%, but it will also allow the team to know that my support is growing. And for watching this review video, I would really appreciate it if you please leave me a like, comment, or share on this video to help increase the algorithms and to just support me if you thought this was helpful. I appreciate all of your support, and I'll see y'all next time.